Hello, this is Katie. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make some chain. So as somebody requested it a little while ago, and I've finally got around to making some nice dainty chain. So this is a triple link chain. So you'll see we've got an infinity link, a rosary link and a chaos link. So, and then also once you've learned how to make all these links, you can make different variations or you can make all the same links. So it's going to give you a lot of variation. So there's going to be some wrap loops in there. That will also include a lot of detail from my previous video, the wrapped loop. So that is a perfect video if you're not very confident with wrapped loops. If you want to take a look at that first, have a little practice on maybe a thicker gauge wire, that would be amazing, and then you would get a really good insight into all the technicalities of a wrapped loop and why I do the things I do when I make my wrapped loops. Also, I'm going to make this, I've made a bracelet in this, and I'm going to make a little clasp for it, and I'm going to do that in a separate video because that is one of my essential techniques. It's just a basic simple clasp. So attached to this video you will be able to find a video to the clasp, so you'll be able to make that too. So you can see you're actually making more of the infinity loops than we are of the other rosary and chaos links, because the infinity loop is what connects them together. So if you were to make one without the infinity, you would need to connect together at the same time as you're making it, which I have also a video called Rosary Links, and that will show you how to do that as well. So what we're going to need, we're going to need some wire. So the wire I've chosen for this demonstration is all to do with balance. So I've chosen to use a 4mm gemstone. So because I've got this nice dainty gemstone, I want some nice dainty features in it. So the feature I'm using is the nice finer wire. So I'm using a 0.6mm UK term wire, which is a 22 gauge in American terms, the AWG. And for your infinity links, I have chosen to use a 0.9mm UK term wire, and that is your 19 gauge in your American terms. So the tools I'm using standard round nose pliers, your standard flush cutters, and chain nose or flat nose pliers. It's up to you. Because I've gone for this more dainty look, I'm actually going to be mainly using my fine nose chain nose pliers, but you can use a standard pair. Just make sure you're using them right on the very tip. It's fine, because I'm going to come down a little bit, sort of to about here on my fine nose pliers. So but it's what you've got. If these pliers, these black pliers that I use, these are by Rocks and Chains, and they are amazing pliers. I cannot recommend them enough, especially the really fine chain nose. And there is some amazing these ones here. They do these ones here as well, these nylon jaw pliers. I will link them below if you wanted to grab some of those, then by Rocks and Chains. So that's all the pliers that we're going to be using. And like I said, I'm using a 4mm centre drilled gemstone, and I'm just going to move everything out of the way and we'll get started. So we're going to start on making this little infinity link. It's really nice and simple, but a really good strong link, especially because we're using quite a small part of our round nose pliers. The other thing that I did forget to say you might need is a little sharpie pen or some sort of permanent marker, just to make a little mark on your pliers where you're going to use. You can see I've got a previous mark on there, but on this one I want to come about 1 centimetre down on each side. So I'm just going to take that round and make sure I've got that mark all the way around. The marks on your pliers do come off, they'll wear off, or you can just take them off with a little bit of alcohol or nail varnish remover or something like that. It's absolutely fine, but it just makes sure that you're keeping everything the same size. So I want the loops on my rosary links to be the same size loop as the loops on my chaos links, and we're going to use the same point. So it just creates balance and makes everything flow a lot nicer. So we're starting with that infinity link. Move a few things out of the way. And what I want to do is I want to make sure I'm using this little part of my pliers that I've just marked. We're going to be snipping off the end, so it doesn't matter if we're starting on a blunt, a flush cut. So I'm just going to pop my pliers right where I've got those marks, and I'm just going to start turning. So we're just starting the turn. I'm just going to remove my pliers. So, and any loop that I do, you'll have seen it on my spirals video. You will see that I always snip off that very little bit, because that little bit that you grab hasn't turned. It hasn't turned in the pliers and it's not as round, and we want it to be nice and round. So we're going to continue this around until it meets the wire. Can you see that's met the wire there? So then I can take this out, and what I want to do is I want to put that mark on my pliers right up to the loop, but this time I'm going to bring my wire around the opposite side. Okay, so I've just grabbed that wire, made sure I'm lined up with that mark on my pliers, and I'm going to bring it all the way around. Now at this point you need to reposition your pliers, and what I tend to end up doing is actually reposition it and moving my hand the whole way around, but whatever feels right to you, just make sure you're still on that mark. And then I want you to bring it all the way across and over the top, and make sure you do actually give that wire a good pull. Okay, so I'm happy that I've got my two same size loops. Now I'm going to go in with my pliers and I'm going to cut this piece of wire that's coming over the top. I've got my flush side facing up because that is the part that I'm going to leave behind, and I've gone right in there, right up to, so it's, when I snip it, it's going to snip it right on the edge like so. Okay, so I know I've got a flush cut, that's the one I just cut, I've got a flush cut in there. Now I'm just going to take either your chain nose pliers or some flat nose pliers, and I'm just going to give it a little squish, just the whole thing. So this is, you could hammer it, but you don't need to. You can just make sure it's leveled out and work hard and a little bit just by using your pliers. So that is how we make those. Obviously it will depend on how many you make to help the length that you're making, but you can work this out. So for this bracelet, I've made a bracelet length. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and this is going to make a bracelet length, because I haven't put the clasp on yet, so I can't tell you the exact length. So this is just coming together here, but I want a little bit of slack. So that my wrist is about 6 inches. Okay, so that's our infinity link made. We're going to move on to another one now. So we're going to be going over to the 0.6mm wire, which is your 22 gauge in American terms. And what I need in this one is 15 centimeters. So I'm going to be making the chaos link. So 15 centimeters, which is approximately 6 inches. So 6 inches of your 0.6 22 gauge wire, and we're going to come with our chain nose pliers. We're going to come probably about 4 centimeters down, about 4, maybe 5, 4 centimeters should be fine. So we're going to make a little angle like this. So we're going to make that wrap loop. Again, like I said, I already have a wrap loop video available that really goes into far more detail and really takes your time with different gauges of wire if you're not sure on your wrap loop. Again, I'm going to pop my pliers in. I'm actually holding onto the short side, so that little bit that I pushed away, I've got it right up to that corner, and I'm on that little mark that I made, and I'm going to bring this all the way around to the opposite side, and then I'm going to reposition my pliers. And then I'm going to take this over or under, is what feels more comfortable to you. And just make sure, before you take your pliers out, that you've got that nice lollipop shape. So ignoring the tail, we would have a lollipop shape. Now I'm going to switch over to my chain nose pliers, or you can use flat nose pliers. And I'm going to pop my pliers right over that loop that I just made. That's going to retain the shape of the loop. Now for the chaos link on a 0.6, we need a little bit of length in between. It's not just a normal wrap, so we're just going to wrap about 7 times. We want these ones to be neat. So 1, 2, you see how my fingers are staying quite close, 3, 4, 5. It does get harder because we're on a finer wire, it's more malleable. I've lost count, 6 maybe, 7. We want 7. That looks about right to me. So I've got 7 wraps on there. That's created that little bit of length, a little bit of width there for me. You can snip off that end. Even though it's going to be hidden inside, I still like to know that I've squished the end. So the end's nice and squished. Now I'm going to turn it round and work on the opposite side. Now in everything we're doing when we make chains and we want it to flow nicely, we want all our loops to be the same way. So on the infinity, our loops are facing in the same direction. They're both facing upwards. On our rosary links, the loops are both in the same direction, and the same goes for this one. So we want to position this so the loop is pointing upwards. I've popped the very tip of my pliers in, so I've got a tiny little bit further down, just like so. So on these ones, it's a few millimeters down. If you're just using the standard pliers, you want to be right on the tip of those pliers, right at the very tip there. And I'm just going to push away and I'm going to form another wrapped loop. So I'm going to go over to my round nose pliers and grabbing the long tail that's coming outwards. I've come right up to that corner that I just made, and I'm bringing it all the way around, repositioning my pliers, and then bringing it across, and just make sure I just push that just so it's nice and level. And now I know I've got 2 loops. Now what you want to do is just, especially when you do the first one, you want these to be about the same size. So it doesn't matter if they're a millimetre or so out, but you want them to be about the same size. So when you've got yours to compare against each other, you can just do that and just make sure they're about the same size. And again, that creates more balance. So this is the chaos part of it. So we're going to start off with just wrapping the tail. I'm holding onto that loop, wrapping the tail nice and neatly to join the other side, like so. So we've got wraps all the way along. And now we can just gently wrap, not tightly, and just kind of make a messy wrap going backwards and forwards all the way around this until we're happy with it. We don't want it to be too big and bulky. The 15 centimetres on this kind of length should be absolutely fine. You should have a tail about so big left. So I'm happy with that. It's got that nice little chaos look to it, but it's not too bulky. Now I'm going to trim this. So I've got a little bit of a tail, like so. And then I'm going to take either, if you've got the fine nose, chain nose, you can use those. If not, use the end of your round nose pliers. But you're just going to grab that little tail end. You're going to make a little kink in it so it's coming towards the actual piece. And then you're going to just position it so it's going to disappear inside. So you might have to put your pliers all the way over. You're just going to position this so that tail disappears inside and it can't be caught on anything. So just take your time, just making sure that the tail of it is disappeared inside, because you don't want it to catch on your clothes or anything. That's better. So I'm happy with that. That's how you make a little chaos link. So in this bracelet, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 chaos links. That's the bracelet's length that fits my size. If you're making a different size, you will have to just size up, size down for the amounts. And now we're just going to make our last link. So that's our rosary link. So with a 4mm bead, I'm going to take 10 centimetres of my 0.6mm 22 gauge wire. And I'm going to take my chain nose pliers. I know my bead's going to sit in the middle, so I can come kind of about so far down. So you imagine your bead sitting in the middle and you're going to have a little few wraps on the other end. So I'm going to come about 4 centimetres in, and I'm going to pop my pliers in on that mark, still using that same mark, bringing it all the way around, reposition my pliers, taking the wire across. Then I can take out my pliers and I can hold that loop to retain the shape and bring this around. So So 1, 2, and just 3 on this one. Always kind of going in jewellery making, we always go with sets of 3, sets of 5, so you've always got that central point. Even on the most dainty little parts, we can still just go with 3 wraps. It still makes a difference, just making sure your wraps, and the wraps are the same at each side. So I've got 3 wraps at this side, I want 3 wraps at the opposite side. So I know if I go in with the very tip of my pliers, like so, and push away, again, I'm going to make sure that I'm pushing away so that my loop is going to form in the same direction. And I can just pop my pliers in, find that mark again, make sure I'm happy where I've got it on that mark, push all the way around, reposition my pliers, take it across. Over or under is absolutely fine, just taking it across. Then take it out of your round nose pliers and then grab your chain nose pliers, and then you should fit 1, 2, 3 wraps in there really nicely. And we can snip and nip that in. So we've got our Rosary Link, our chaos link and our infinity link all made. So now it's just a case of putting everything together. So now we need to construct our chain. So we're going to start off by picking up one of our infinities, because these are the ones that will open and close. So to open and close them, I'm just going to hold with, I've got some fine flat nose, I can't speak today, flat nose pliers, and I'm just going to support those, the actual other link, and just open it up. So I'm opening it up like so, so it opens up. Don't tend to open it up like this way, because that way you will never get it back. And then I'm going to pop on one of my links like so, and then I'm going to turn it around and pop on another one. So again, I'm supporting the other side and just opening this up, and this time I'm going to pop on one of the opposite links like so. So that's my 3 links nice and connected, and making sure that there's no gaps for anything to come through. Make sure they're closed up really nicely. And now I'm going to join on, I'm going to continue working on this side. So opening up one of my links, doesn't matter which side because they're both the same, popping that one on, and then just making sure that when we close them by supporting, close it like a door, nice and squished. And this time it's going to be one of my rosary links. So just making sure, if you're doing the triple and doing all 3, you're going alternate rosary link and chaos link between each infinity link. So back to my infinity link. So these make gorgeous chains for your necklaces too, so you can make it a lot longer. It doesn't have to be a bracelet. You can make it longer, maybe match up the gemstone with whatever there is in your pendants. Also make a gorgeous glasses chain. Can you imagine a glasses chain with this? This would be beautiful. So you're just going to keep building up like so until you've got the length that you design. I'll meet you back at the end when I've got all of this made. So there we are, all finished, all linked together. Absolutely beautiful, gorgeous movement on this as well. And you do get that nice movement when you've done, as I said, and made sure all your links are the same direction. So both loops at each end have to be pointing in the same direction all the way along, and you'll get nice flow in your chains. So like I said, I will be making a little video to make a clasp for this little bracelet, nice little simple clasp for the bracelet. I've got one pre-made here, So this is what we'll be making, really nice and simple, but I'm going to do that in a separate video just because it's one of my essential techniques, and I'm just going to join it into that whole collection of videos that I've got going. If you don't want to miss it, or you don't want to miss any of my future tutorials, don't forget to subscribe. Also click like on my video so that I know you've enjoyed it. Leave me a comment below. I always like to see comments, and tell me what else you want. Is there any different videos that you want to see, any techniques that you want to see? Let me know and I will try to make that happen for you. So thank you very much for watching today. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you make lots of lovely chains. If you do, don't forget my social media tags are available down below. Please tag me. I love to see things that have been made using my tutorials. And again, thank you very much for watching. Take care.